Good morning, I hope you're well. So I've set myself a challenge today. I was doing some shopping on the John Lewis website last night, and John Lewis is a very successful e-commerce website. And I thought, well, this is quite interesting in terms of structure, and what a great challenge it would be to try and recreate some of the elements of this using just the block editor, the WordPress block editor. So that's what I'm going to try and do. I've had a quick look at it. It looks possible to me, and so I'm going to dive in and see if we can basically rebuild most of this or all of this just using the block editor, and I'm going to try and use no plugins, but we'll see how we get along. Here we go. Let's have a go at this. Let's see how close I can get to it. So this is the John Lewis page, and we look at this to start with, and basically we've got 3 columns with 3 images and 3 buttons underneath. So I'm confident we can achieve that using the block editor, just using some core standard blocks. And we're going to start with the columns block. So I'm going to click on the blue add block sign, and I'm going to search for columns, and I'm going to drag the columns block into the page, and it didn't work for some reason, so let's try it that way. And I'm going to choose 3 columns here because that's what we want, and then essentially we've got 3 images. So I'm just going to nab these to cheat using up arrow command and 4 on a Mac, shift on a Mac. And I'm going to grab those, and now you can just drag and drop images into the block editor really easily, which is very cool. There's my fan. And then underneath that, I've got that yellow button. I'm not an enormous fan of the yellow button, I have to say, but we are sticking to what John Lewis have done. And I'm using a cool Chrome extension, which is a thing called ColorZilla, which lets you pick colors from a page. And it's a free Chrome extension. I will put the link in the description for you so you can use it. And so what we're going to do underneath this is I'm just going to add the buttons block. So a shortcut to add a block is / and then you start typing the block name, and there is the buttons block. There it is. And we need to do a little bit of work to make it look more like this. So the first thing is it's called shop fans, and then we need to change a couple of things on the style of the button, and we do this over here in the customizer. And I'm going to change the color settings of the button. So I'm going to add a custom background color, and I'm just going to paste in that color that I just nabbed using the ColorZilla Chrome extension. And then I'm going to change the text color. And then there's one other thing, which you can actually change the width setting down here of your buttons, and that width setting means it's going to be the width of the container that it sits within. So if you put that button within a page, it would stretch to the whole width of the page. And there's my block, and let's just have a look at this to make sure we're sort of happy with this. Yeah, that's pretty close. I mean, we're not going to be identical to this because of the page margins of the theme. That's going to be slightly different, which we could adjust, but I'm kind of happy with that. Now for speed today, I'm not going to just I'm not going to put a different image on each one. I'm basically just going to duplicate that across 3, so you get the idea of how it works. So a good tip on how to duplicate things and to work quickly is to select the column, and these breadcrumbs down here are a great way that you can select the actual thing you want to duplicate. And I want to duplicate the whole column, and you see the blue box around it that tells me that's what I selected. The other way you can do it is using these 3 lines at the top here. You can also see the hierarchy that way. So we just want to make sure we've selected the column block. If I select the whole columns, you see I'm going to duplicate the wrong thing. So make sure you've selected the column, and then I'm going to duplicate it by clicking on these 3 dots, and I'm going to duplicate it twice. And you see how it's just duplicating it across, and then I'm simply going to remove those last 2. So now we've got our 3 pictures that are looking approximately like this. Obviously they've got we have more margin on this side because of the theme that I'm using, but I'm happy with that as a standard layout. We're close enough for me. Now obviously I would go in and change the pictures and change the text and the links in here, but I'm not going to do that today because that's not very interesting for you. So next up under here we've got this interesting section. I've got a rough idea how I might do this. Basically it's not just a graphic, it's a graphic with text on it. You see this is actually text. So we're going to use the cover block for this. So I'm just going to, in fact, let me just add the cover block. So the cover block is a great block because it lets you add a background image and then text over the top of it. which is kind of useful. Now I'm just going to nab that portion of the image, so I'm not replicating this exactly, and drag that in. But it's close enough for what I'm trying to do here. Okay, and then all we've got in here, I think, is some words. So I've got Father's Day, those words there. Let's just chuck that in. And again, this is going to be centered to start with, but we can quite easily align these to the left using this setting in the cover block up here. So I can actually change the center of it, which is kind of cool. And I think I just want to put a soft return. So hold down the up arrow and hit return, and that'll be a soft return, so it doesn't create another block essentially. And then I want to align it to the left. Okay, and then I've got this text under here, which is yellow. So I am going to hit a proper return here to create a new block, because this block has to have different sizing. So let's make this 30. And let's make this yellow, and I'm going to use the same yellow color that I picked already using ColorZilla. Okay, so I'm just going to grab that color, and I'm going to put that as the custom color for the text. There we go. So we're kind of close enough. In fact, I kind of prefer mine because it's got the same width as the images above it. Let's just check that out, see how we're looking. Yeah, that's close enough. I probably want a bit of padding on this text, but we'll come back to that potentially later if we have time. But as a rough, first go, I'm kind of okay with that. The other thing I want to do, actually, I might just change the focal point of that picture to bring the family more into the focus. And I'm going to reduce the opacity, because when you first add a cover block, it naturally adds some a mask on it, which we don't want. We want to kind of show the image. So that's close enough for now. Then we've got these 3 links, which are incredibly easy to do. So I'm just going to literally copy and paste those in, actually. I'm just going to paste those in, and then I'm going to center them using the alignment tool here. Okay, I think that's pretty much okay. Yeah, I'm okay with that. And then we've got this little strange sort of heading here. Now I'm going to put a return in here and just put the heading in, and I'm going to center that. We might need a little bit more space underneath that, but we'll leave it there for now. So we're kind of getting there. Then under here we've got these 2 pictures here, and essentially these are just, I think I can just put those in columns. A 2-column layout will look pretty great for that. So I'm just going to hit return, hit / add the columns block, he says. There we go, add the columns block. I want my 2-column layout. That just sets the grid essentially for me. And then I'm going to nab these images again here using that little tool that comes on a Mac. And then I'm just going to drag that into that column. I'm not sure that's actually worked, but has it? Yep, that's cool. And then I'm going to try and do the same for this one here. Now, obviously, you'd upload your own images when you're doing this for real, but this is just a way of me doing this quickly. There we go. There's my 2-column layout. And then underneath there, I have just some text, and I'm just going to copy this and paste it just to show you this. So under this column, within the same columns block, I'm just going to add the paragraph block and paste that text in. Then I'm going to align it. He says I'm going to align it. Now, I think I need to do these individually, unfortunately. So let's just whiz through these. So you can group these, but I'm just going to do it like this for speed. It's slightly laborious, so bear with me, but we're getting there. There we go, there's that. And I think we're pretty much close enough. The text is probably a bit big, so you can actually select them all here and change the font size. So let's just drop those down to font size. That's about right, that was 12, I think. And I'm just going to do the same thing with this bunch of text here, but I probably won't align it because that'll bore you. So I'm just going to dump that in for now, and I'm going to select it all, this stuff, and set that as 12, custom size. Actually, I will align that stuff there. There we go, I can align that, and I will align the top one as well. So there we go, let's just update that. I'm updating as I go along just so I don't lose it in any disasters, and that's looking, let's have check that out. Not bad. Pretty close. I'm kind of happy with that. Right, then we've got this, we've got a line, we've got a separator line, and luckily Gutenberg comes with its own separator line. So let's just add one of these. Now, the design of this line might change depending on your theme, and I can never remember what this one's called. It's called separator, this one here. So it's just another block called separator. And depending on your theme, whether you can stretch it to be full width or not. So that will be somewhat dependent on your theme. But there's my little separator line. And then I've got this piece of text here, okay, which again is I'm just going to add using the paragraph block. You could add the heading block, but I'm just going to use the paragraph block. Align it to the center. Does that look about right? I mean, I could make it bold. Let's make it bold. So that's kind of cool as well. And then underneath there, we have 3 columns of images. Okay, now I think that's pretty straightforward. Hopefully you can understand how we're going to do this. I'm going to add the columns block again, which is your best layout friend when you're creating layouts in Gutenberg. And I'm going to use the 3 column layout. So that just sets the grid. And let me just nab an image or two here so we can sort of mock this up, so we can roughly see what this is going to look like. That's still loading, is it? It's going slowly, I think. I think we're getting there. There it is. Now I could, if I wanted to be quick, I think, do we want to do this? Let's try this. Let's just duplicate that. And that just duplicates that image in that block. Has it loaded? Yeah, there we go. Now I'm going to select the whole column again, and I'm going to basically duplicate that. Now again, if I was doing this for real, I would obviously upload different images, my own images, but I just want to work really quickly because I'm trying to show you the layout stuff really here, how you can do the layout stuff. Okay, and there's that's pretty close actually, isn't it? It's not too far away. Yeah, that's pretty perfect. So I'm happy with that. Let's go back to the edit screen. Right, what have we got underneath here? Yeah, this is interesting, this bit. So again, we've got a background image and we've got some text on it. So there's a couple of ways you can do this one, I think. Let's have a think about how we can do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add a cover block with columns, I think. Is that the best way to do it? Yeah, possibly. So let's try that way first. So let's add the cover block. And I've actually got the image already on this computer, hopefully. Did I bring it on my computer? Yeah, here. Now, that's the one. So I'm going to select that as the background. No, I'm not. So I need to work out how I'm going to achieve this. Let's have a think about this. So what I'm going to do actually, yeah, here's a way to do this. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the columns block. So sometimes when you look at these designs, there's different ways to achieve the same thing. So you need to think around the problem bit. So I'm going to add the columns block, and I'm going to add a single columns block. And I'm going to, within that, actually, is that right? Yeah, that is wrong. I've done that wrong. So I think what I want to do is add the columns block. Let's try again. And I want to add, yeah. So I want to add the image is going to be that size because it's 2/3, 1/3. That's the image basically. And that's where my image is going to go. So let's just chuck that in from the media library. Now I've cut out the image, so basically it doesn't have a background on it. So there's nothing behind it. But with the columns block, what you can do, let's just make sure we select the whole columns block. You can actually, you see, it's allowing me to set a background behind the entire column, as in a color. Now again, I could nab this. It's a very, very light gray here. So I'm going to use my color picker just to grab that. And I'm going to set that as the background color, as a custom color to the entire columns. And can you see, it's very subtle, but can you see it's actually put a background behind the layout here. So I've got my image in one column. I'm going to put my text in this column, and I have a background color behind all the columns. And then the other thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to make this full width. So the column, hopefully, potentially should stretch across the page. And then basically we've just got some text. Okay, so we've got some text in the right-hand column. So I'm just going to add this quickly. That is not the right text, so it didn't copy the right thing. So let me just go back. Just double check I'm copying this properly, which I'm not. Thing is, I'm trying to copy it, but it's clicking it. Have I copied that properly? No, I haven't. So I'm going to type it. Okay, so let's just type it in. So interest free credit available. You get the idea. Okay. Now what we can do with the columns block as well, which is really useful, is we can actually set the alignment of our elements within it. So it's this option here. But again, you need to make sure you select the full columns block itself using these breadcrumbs or using these 3 lines to make sure you've actually selected the top level to do this. And you see how it's now vertically aligned that text within the block itself. And then we've got this bit of words here. Now I'm just going to put some gibberish in here for speed, because you don't really want to watch me type. So I'm going to hit return and type the text. And that text is actually aligned. Let's just double check that. Yeah, so both those text fields are center aligned, which I can center align using that alignment option here, and I'll center align that one there. There we go. I've probably got too much text in for what John Lewis had got. And the text color is wrong, so I just want to change the color to a darker black. And then underneath here, we've basically got 2 links. So this is just some text basically. So find out more, and then there was an all bar, I think, and then shop Apple. And again, you would link these up using just by linking them as you would in the normal way in Gutenberg. You'd highlight them, click on the little link icon here, and then basically search for the page you want to link them to. Okay, I've just put a dummy link in for today for speed. Okay, let's have a look. Let's update that. And let's check it out. So that's the top bit, that's looking all right. Then we've got those 2 nice columns. We've got our nice logos here. And then we've got that section, which is looking pretty cool, actually. I like that a lot. So it's got the background. Hopefully you can see the background, that nice sort of light gray color. Theirs is slightly more squished up. So we could put some padding around this if we wanted to, but I'm kind of okay with, it's close enough. Okay, and then under here, we've kind of got the same arrangement. We've got two more columns. So I'm going to cheat for this demo. What I'm going to do is just duplicate these 2. And again, this is a perfectly valid way of creating these pages. Duplicate what you've got. So make sure you've selected the whole thing. Duplicate what you've got, and then just change it. So I'm going to duplicate it. So basically, I've got the same thing. Then I'm going to move it down the page using the up and down arrows here, and you'll see how it's going down the page now. There it goes. Okay. And then all you do is come in here and replace the image and replace the text. So it's a really quick way of working. And then we've just got this text here above it. So let's see. Yeah, we can actually just add a block between there, add the paragraph block, and center it and make it bold. And now let's just change one of these images because that'll be fun. So I'm going to just nab that image. Let's see if this works. So I think this will work if I can just drag it on top of that image. That's cool, right? It just basically replaces the existing image, which is really cool. And the same with this one. And the same. Okay. Oh, I'm not sure what's happened there. That looks like it's gone wrong. Let's try. Oh, it has worked. Yeah, it's just my internet's going slowly. So there we go. That's that section there. And then under here, we've got this section here, which is a sort of delivery thing. Now theirs is whizzing along, but I want to do this with no plugins, and I don't particularly like that effect anyway. You'd have to, I'm trying to use no plugins for this demo. So the way I could probably do that, not the whizzy thing, but the sort of gray bar, is using the columns block again. So I'm going to add the columns block, but I'm going to add a single column. I'm going to add the text in here as a paragraph block, delivery information, blah, 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 blah. Okay. And I'm going to center that like so. Now the thing I can do with this, because we're using the columns block, remember I can put a background behind it, which is kind of the key thing. So I can just choose a background color, and you'll see that will go behind it. And again, I could nab this using my color picker, but I'm kind of okay with that. And the other thing I want to do with this, I do want to make it full width. So I'm going to select that and make it full width. Now you won't see it potentially in the preview, depending on your theme. But when I go and visit the site, my lovely looking page now, there it is. There's my delivery information on a gray background. So that's okay. And then under here, we're pretty much there. We've essentially got another heading, perfect for Father's Day, underneath that. So let's go back to the edit screen. And I'm just going to add that heading in and center align it. and I'm going to make it bold for some reason. Yeah, this is bold. Now, if you ever need to add more space between your stuff, you could use the spacer block. So I think I don't need to do it today because we're okay, but the spacer block basically just lets you add vertical space between your blocks. So it's good if you're ever in a situation where your blocks are too tight to each other. So I've added one in. Then essentially, hopefully you can work out how we're going to achieve this. We've got 3 columns with some text and some links. So it's dead easy to do using the block editor. I'm going to use the columns block. I'm going to choose 3 columns, that option there. And then let's just nab a couple of pictures here that we can use. So let's nab that one. Chuck it in the first column. There we go. In fact, I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to nab the text and duplicate it. I'm going to nab all the text. Let's see if this works okay. I'm going to nab that text underneath. Yeah, that's looking good. It's not going to let me do that. So I'm going to set those 2 and I'm going to align those 2 and I'm going to align that one, the heading. It looks a bit big actually, that heading. Yeah. So let's reduce the size of that a bit over here. Let's make that 16. That's probably a little small, but it's okay. And I'm just going to make that bold because I think that looks better. Now that might not work. Let's have a look at that. That's good, that's good, that's good, that's good, that's good. Yeah, you see how the image is probably a bit small for my column. So that's really the size of the image isn't quite big enough because my columns are bigger than the size of the image. So what I might do for now is just nab one of my other images just for that. I'll replace it. Let's try the fan one. I think that might be a better size. Yeah, that looks better. Okay, and then I'm going to duplicate that again by selecting the column block itself. I'm going to duplicate it. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Okay, there we go, there we go, there we go. And again, I'll jump in here if I was doing this properly and replace each of these images with the image that I wanted to use. Let's update that. Let's check it out. Let's making sure that's looking all right. There we go. There's our page. There's our icons. There's our columns. There's our 3 little things there with the links underneath. And then finally, we've basically got 6 buttons with a grey background. So we can do this. Let's see how we're going to do this. There's a couple of ways you could do this. I'm probably going to use the columns block again. I think that's probably the best way to actually position this. So I'm going to add the columns block, 3 columns, and then within the first column, yeah, that's probably easy the way to do it. I'm going to put 2 buttons essentially. So I'm going to add the buttons block in, and let's call it mirrors because that's the name of it. And just like we did before, I'm going to, over on the right here, I'm going to set that to be 100% width. I'm going to set the background color to be gray. That's probably, the text color is black, I think. Is that right? Yes, it is. The text is a bit big, so let's reduce that down. That's too small. Let's go 12. That's probably okay. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, let's just see if this works. If I can duplicate that. Yeah, so I've duplicated that. Now, again, I'm not going to go through here and do all the proper text because that would be incredibly dull. I'm just going to essentially do what I've done a few times and select the whole column and duplicate it. That's interesting. So if that happens, one solution is to take your toolbar off, so it's not the top toolbar, and now you potentially can drag it like so and then duplicate it again, because basically it will duplicate in the block in the column that it's in. And that's gone completely haywire. So let's just see if we can drag that. You'll find these little issues sometimes with the block editor. There's normally a way around them, like you saw me just dragging it to the right place there. And that's pretty much it. Apart from, there's quite an exciting thing at the bottom of this page. So let's have a look at our page. Let's just compare what we've got here. It's not identical, I admit, but it's close, right? It's pretty close. There's the top elements, the boxes with the images. There's mine. Mine are a bit narrower, but I quite like mine. There's my cover image. Again, I kind of prefer mine. I think it's a bit more striking. I probably want a little bit of padding here. which you could do with a little bit of CSS probably. Then we've got, I'm getting confused which is which now. So then we've got these links under here, and then we've got blue skies ahead and these lovely 2 columns. Yeah, that's really close, and the text underneath. That's not bad at all. Then we've got the brand icons appearing. I think those are very happy with those. Those are good. Now this bit I'm not 100% happy with, but it's close enough. I kind of prefer theirs, if I'm honest. I think my text is a bit too far over here. I'd rather it was over here. So I need to think about how I'd solve that. I could definitely solve it with some CSS, but there might be a way to do it without having to dig into any code. But it still looks, it's acceptable. It's just not as good as the John Lewis one. Mind you, mine's taken 10 minutes and it's done on the fly, so it should be not quite as good. Then we've got this section here, and look at that. That's frighteningly close. That's extraordinary. Okay, and then we've got this stuff down here, and again, I'm quite happy with mine, apart from I seem to only be selling fans. And then we've got these buttons at the bottom here. Actually, there's our less grey than mine, but I could definitely easily change those. Now, the other thing that they've got, which we can't do without a plugin, is this recently viewed items section here, which basically, if you shop their shop, they'll show you the stuff you've looked at, which is really cool. You'll need a plugin if you do want to do that. We've actually built a plugin that does that, and I only realized this this morning when I was looking at the John Lewis website that they do this. We've built a plugin which is part of our Storefront Blocks plugin that lets you show your recently viewed items from your customers' recently viewed items anywhere on your site. It's really cool. So I'll put a link to that in the description below as well. I'm not going to show you that today because there's other videos I've done that can show you that, and this is meant to be a tutorial that only shows you, that does the John Lewis page without any plugins whatsoever. So there we go. There's my page. It's pretty good. It's not bad for about 20 minutes work. I'm guessing the John Lewis design took a little bit longer than I've taken on it, but hopefully it's given you some ideas and some techniques that you can use when you're using the block editor. Hope you found it useful. If you want to see more videos like this, then hit the subscribe button. I'm trying to do 2 videos a week at the moment around the block editor and WooCommerce. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up because that really helps spread the word as well. So thank you so much, and I shall see you soon.